All AI relies on quality data, and there's more work to do on the data side, but it's almost like business stakeholders don't even want to talk about that. They just want to talk about the shiny objects. And then when it comes to the shiny objects, everything's changing so fast.
So I am here with the one and only David Meyer.
Meyer,
okay.
Meyer.
I probably have butchered that so many times. So
I don't know. I don't notice.
You're the SVP of Product.
One of two SVPs of Product.
Yeah, okay. Senior Vice President of Product alongside Adam Conway.
Yes.
Awesome. So I remember, just for a quick backdrop, a lot of what you do is go out in the field, right? Basically go out, see what customers are feeling, what they're feeling good about when it comes to Databricks, and what they're not feeling very good about, right?
Yeah, that's what I do with my right foot.
I guess in the last year,
Yeah.
what has been some of the pain points that you have heard from your customers, not just around Databricks, but just around the tech community in whole?
I mean, that's a broad question.
Sorry, okay.
But I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. The thing is, one of the big themes has been everyone they work for is talking about AI. And, Ali said it on stage this morning. It's like, it's very hard to keep up with a torrent of new models, new techniques, and things like that. And then, their whole life has been getting the data right. And there's always still work there to do, but it's almost like it's hard to justify the work you need. All AI relies on quality data, and there's more work to do on the data side and bringing the stuff on premise to the cloud and doing the governance and stuff like that. But it's almost like business stakeholders don't even want to talk about that. They just want to talk about the shiny objects.
Yeah.
But you need this for that. And then when it comes to the shiny objects, everything's changing so fast. It's hard to always know the answer to the questions you're getting from your stakeholders.
Now, I do want to probe a little bit into that. You mentioned quality data or data quality.
Yeah.
That's a term I hear sometimes thrown a little bit too broadly. So can you tell me a little bit more as it relates to AI, what that pain point looks like?
Like, the classic, I forget what that Google paper was, where you have all these boxes and there's a little box in the middle that's AI, and all the supporting systems as prerequisites for AI are the data systems. I wasn't trying to talk about the data quality stack itself.
Yeah.
And like Lakehouse monitoring does a bunch of outlier detection and all that. I wasn't talking about that. I'm just talking about
the right data.
You need to ground your model in the data. A lot of the techniques I'm most excited by that our AI research team is doing and everything, like test automated optimization, is solving the problem of you don't have the labeled data to fine tune the models on the intelligence for your data. So that's a really hard problem. I'm doing a lot of really good work around that. But at the basic, like the documents you want to do your RAG on are in some other system, and getting them into Databricks, you have to, connect some things, and we're trying to solve that with Lakeflow, et cetera. But basically, you want to bring AI to your data. You generally have more of your structured data already ready to go in Databricks and Unity Catalog, and a lot of the unstructured stuff and preserving the ACLs from the source system and stuff like that, getting it into the data to have the quality so your AI is always grounded in it is, it's work.
I would say, how much of the problem do you think is the technology, and how much of the problem is really a matter of process, business knowledge to accomplish the different tasks needed to get to that stage of AI where it actually is impactful for
it definitely is a combination. We're really focused on making it all simpler, and that's what a lot of the announcements tomorrow will be about with Lakeflow and stuff. Yeah. But there's still always a lot of work to do there. And it's almost like the teams doing that just want people to chill out a little bit so they can get the next set of data in, so they can build incremental value. But all the impatience around AI kind of makes the patience about getting stuff into the proper systems hard.
So I guess going to making things practical, right? Again, with that outcome-based approach.
A lot of it's cultural. You talked about technical or cultural. And people are very used to the traditional systems they have for a lot of these processes. And as the whole Lakehouse makes a lot of it doable in place, a lot of people haven't moved to that architecture. So they're spending more work necessary to bring the stuff in.
I guess taking a step back from that is, where would you start? You're the CTO of, let's say, maybe an organization, like mid-sized organization.
Okay.
As broad of a term as I can use, mid-sized organization. You want to leverage AI. You have perhaps the investors and others pushing you to leverage AI. where do you start and how do you manage those expectations, I guess, that people have with what the roadmap looks like in the future?
The key is you do want to deliver near immediate value to the stakeholders so you build trust with them that you know what you're doing, but you want to do it in a durable architecture. We've been talking about since 2019, the Lakehouse concept, but just as important is the unified governance, that if everything's traveling through this unified governance, then you kind of train the brain that will be used in your AI, because you see, get smarter, semantics evolve and things like that. So basically what I would do is I would stand up a proper lakehouse, not a fake house, modern lakehouse storage, Delta Iceberg, etc., with unified governance on top, and then get some of your data in there. Now, if you have big data islands with data gravity in on-premise systems, other systems, you can, mount those to Unity Catalog with Lakehouse Federation. And over time, if that's too much latency or egress cost, you can CDC that stuff in and have it local. But the interface doesn't change. It's in the same schema in Unity Catalog, and you can use that in your AI. So people have these massive data estates. Figure out an AI use case where the data it needs to be grounded in is relatively straightforward to expose through Unity Catalog, and make that be the first use case. And then as soon as you do that, put a Genie space on it. People can talk to it. Plug that through Teams bot framework into Teams. People can discuss that in their online meetings. And they've shown the value that this is real, that you can have this exposure of the intelligence and the data to everybody in your company. And then that'll incent the other teams to help you figure out how to bring their part of the data estate under the umbrella of Unity Catalog. The key is you want a durable system that you can keep adding data sources to and stitching together different types of agentic and other things too. And Unity Catalog is the broker for the data, and then Mosaic AI is the broker for the AI, leaves you ultimate optionality going forward. Give value, like when I'm meeting with a customer, I want them to leave the meeting with access to a Genie space. Because it's silly to talk about it, you have to really feel it to get the shape of it and understand what it can do.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, you mentioned Genie. I've heard a lot of very positive things from different customers that I've met. Not even SAP customers, but just Databricks customers but prospective customers. They were actually really enjoying the sessions. I think there were like 17 sessions on Genie, and I don't know how many. There's a lot of fluff around AI and chatbots and all those things, right?
Yeah.
Why Genie from your perspective?
Okay, so like I was talking to a customer yesterday, and I was explaining, you organize your data in Unity Catalog and you put it in a Genie room and you ask some questions, and the first couple times you ask it the questions before you give it instructions, it might have some wrong answers. And the guy grabbed me, he's like, no, it's always right. Like, I thought that too, but I'm like, no, it's not always going to be right, because you might have, I was like, basically, if it's always right, you have very well structured data. There's no like hidden predicates where you have to say, and customer name, bang equals Databricks. Because like Databricks usage is mixed in with the customer usage.
Yeah.
Like you have clean data. If you've done great work around data cleanliness, then yeah, Genie will always be right.
That's not always how it works in the real world.
Right, no, exactly. And when people say, then the people that say, okay, sometimes Genie's wrong, I'm like, well, the analysts that give me data are often wrong too. But the meta point is we do something very unique in Genie. There's tons of, everybody has a product, you can talk to your data now. But we have a very active ML research team, and it's like the best thing we got out of the Mosaic acquisition is the brains, the people. And they're constantly decomposing this Genie problem as a multi-agent framework and having different mini models do different validations. LLM judges are constantly it's kind of where we walk the talk. Like we talk about all of these ways you build AI systems, and we've done it in this capsulated way. People that create a Genie room, they know their own data. And it's kind of magic to them that this other seemingly sentient being knows their data too. But it's just all of these techniques applied that we've learned in research and with, tens of thousands of customers and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and I've gotten to work a little bit with a lot of the Databricks engineers behind the scenes, and I know a lot of the effort and a lot of the mechanics and everything that they're doing to be to make it as accurate as possible, as reliable as possible, and as consistent as possible, and even a step further, make it governable. If that's even a word.
But yeah.
Well,
that's the other thing people don't realize, that none of your data is going to the LLM.
Yeah.
We're just telling the LLM, hey, write a good SQL statement based on this metadata of Unity Catalog. And Unity Catalog, the all-seeing thing, has a lot of metadata about your data, So those things are put together in a way that's very potent. People know, because here's the thing. with LLMs, oftentimes you don't know if it's giving you the right answer, right? Because it's generative. But when it's answering questions about your data and you put together the room, it's very easy to validate. You see the SQL, you can run the SQL. The SQL has the logic you asked for in it. It's kind of like you're seeing the proof that the system's correct while you're seeing it act correct. And I think that's where people get fascinated because it's provably true.
So you mentioned the ability to see the SQL inside of Genie.
Yeah.
What if I don't really know how to use SQL?
Exactly. So Chow, I don't know.
He posted my buddy.
A great thing today about like, just for newbies, like the 3 phases of using Genie. And the key is, first you create a room on data you know, and you ask it questions, and you see how it phrases the SQL and stuff like that. I know data, I can know instructive questions to ask it. And then you get the question and SQL answer pairs that you know are exemplary for the data you put in the room. And you just grab those and you put those in instructions, in the instructions tab. And you do that for like 5 questions, and then you go a little deeper, a little harder. So spend 10 minutes with it yourself, because you know the data, and ask really deep questions of the data, and do that and just grab the questions and answers and put them in instructions. So then your expert knowledge of how to ask questions of the data is encapsulated in the Genie instructions.
Yeah.
And then you ask a couple friends that know SQL to come into the room. That's the minute 20 through 30.
Yeah.
And they play around with it a little bit, and they see if there's any edges, and they thumbs and downs and ups and stuff like that. And then once you've done that, then you add some 10 business people that don't know SQL, but you get your friends that know SQL to kind of monitor the questions and the answers.
So almost like a modified type of development life cycle, if you
Yeah,
will.
but it can be super compressed. And then within, a few hours, you can have a viable thing you can share with thousands of people at your company.
Yeah. One of the things that I think we did at SEB was for a customer, we built using the Genie spaces and Genie. I always forget, are they Genie spaces, Genie rooms now? I forget.
They were Genie rooms.
Okay.
And then they became Genie spaces.
Okay, yeah. I always get them confused.
But now we're going to have new kinds of Genies. We're going to have like the deep thinking Genies.
Okay.
And then are those still Genie spaces, or are those like Genie salons? We got to figure this out.
We'll see. You guys like to change up the names.
We don't, yeah.
Every now and then.
They changed from yesterday to today.
Overnight.
Yesterday,
yeah.
free edition was community edition.
Yeah.
And now it's free edition.
Yeah, look at that. So,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, I like it. It makes a lot more sense, to be honest. Because I know you had the little bit of, like, from a community edition, what community edition meant before.
Yeah.
It was a lot more limited than the free edition,
Yeah.
right, in terms of what you can do. And you'll still have, I think, limits as to how much you're using, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a great start.
It might even let you pay for more.
Yeah.
Pay for the community edition. Who knows?
Yeah.
For extra juice. It's possible.
When you look ahead for the next year, out of everything that's going to come out of DICE, what are the 3 takeaways that you would want customers to go try this today? Besides Genie.
I want everyone to have their kids try the free edition. Kids are data literate. They're doing all kinds of stuff with data now. I mean, teenagers, not newborns.
My kids like working with Excel, which I like working with Excel.
Oh, there's some. Do we announce? I don't know what we announced this week, but there's some Excel stuff happening.
Yeah, I think I know a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Google Sheets guy.
Yeah.
No offense. It's Lakebase. I would say I don't need 3. I need 1. Lakebase. It will be a bigger transformation of the industry and the market than Lakehouse. And Lakehouse fundamentally changed the market. Every vendor said it's a joke, and now every vendor says it's their strength. Why will it change the market? It's because of these trends of, we're gonna have these virtual coworkers. Like, there's gonna be so much agency in AI that we work with, and they're all gonna need state. The idea of, I'm sure you've worked with a bunch of databases in your life.
Yeah.
I was my last company, a company called OneLogin, and like when you roll out a new feature and it has a migration that bricks your database and takes your system down, getting out of that tailspin can take minutes, an hour. You might have to do it gets crazy, right? Those days are all gone with truly separating compute and storage of your database and having it as part of the Lake governance framework. Solve so many intrinsic developer problems that developers have just felt the pain of for decades. The number of these database instances, every code branch will have a database. Every change to your vibe coded app will have a branch of the database. And it's just gonna make everything so much more resilient and fast and production ready quickly. It's gonna drive so much change that I think it's very hard to anticipate today.
That's very cool. still owe me two, but I guess he only said one so that next year there's the higher chance of his predictions being accurate. So
Is that true? Higher chance?
yeah.
Well, no, if I said three.
I mean, you're all or nothing. You're in or I mean, it depends on what school of philosophy you are in terms of statistics.
The other thing that blew me away today was I didn't think it would work that well. I got to try this kind of vibe coding a Databricks app through some of our partners. I vibe coded websites, right? But they were detached from any back-end logic.
I was gonna say I've coded the front end likely, which is always the easy part.
But like, I have this whole new perception. It's kind of like keep the workers in the workspace, but all the other surface area that you're gonna roll out to employees or customers or partners or much broader users, just do that in an app. Don't even bring those users into the workspace, because now there's rich functionality. I was really impressed, and I know that the demo this morning was real because my friends were doing it, you know? And so that's a thing that I think we'll be surprised by how fast that takes off.
Yeah. So Databricks, so I sometimes work with some partners. Like Sigma, they made this custom hat, which I just gotta call out. It's nice. They made this custom hat.
That is really nice hat, yeah.
It is pretty epic. But realistically, how do you balance as a company that has that out-of-the-box value that I love about that about Databricks? It's one of the things I talk about a lot. It's probably my number one reason to choose Databricks over other platforms. So how do you balance as a company between that competition, if you will, for what products are used when you have, again, partners within your ecosystem?
Yeah, so here's the thing. One thing we'll be talking about, Matteo will talk a lot about tomorrow, is openness of Unity Catalog. Literally, whether it's Delta or Iceberg, you're not going to find another catalog, first of all, that spans tables to models and stuff, but lets you read write from external engines. You take an external engine, read write through Unity Catalog IRC to Iceberg, it works better than if Unity Catalog's not there. Why do we do that? Why we don't charge for Unity Catalog? We help these external engines be better. For our customers, we take no money. Why do we do that? Well, because everything going through there trains the brain, right? It trains the brain, which is Unity Catalog. And so we think our engines are pretty good. So then we can win the workload year after year on the merits of our engine. If our engine isn't good, swap it out, use another engine. You know Hex?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're invested in Hex, right? When we were initially talking to Hex, we thought awesome product, plugs right on top of Unity Catalog through the SQL endpoint, all these things. I think, I don't know, through all the endpoints, I think. I'm not exactly sure. The notebook team was like, you're investing in them? Like, we got some pretty sweet notebooks here. But of course we invested in them, you know? And so we invest in all of these. If you sit on top of Unity Catalog, we'll invest in you. You're not a platform unless you have apps.
Yeah.
We don't care if our apps win. We want them to. I mean, we care. But the thing is, we want the platform to win. If people aren't building things we never imagined on top of the Lakehouse, now that they have Lakebase as the OLTP, and they have kind of the Lakehouse apps to do bespoke stuff, if we're not shocked, if people aren't getting rich on our platform, we're not a platform.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the win is not, hey, is a customer using every single Databricks feature? Well, you might like that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the win is, are these our customers, and do they have everything that they need to get the outcomes that they
And it makes the platform better. Pick any platform. YouTube makes a lot of money. Influencers make more. Like the brands, like the people that use the platform to drive their business, they need to make more money.
Yeah.
And so we need all of these different, whether IDEs or AI platforms or notebooks, or we need everybody to be building this platform up and for people to buy into this open catalog where you own your own data. We're the only platform like this where by default, your data is stored in an open platform that you own that we don't make money on.
Well, and to be fair, the Databricks team as a whole has a lot of folks working with ISVs.
Yeah.
That's their job is to see the ISVs win.
Whether and I think that's kind of like the whole, the built on Databricks, the built on the Lakehouse, and now we'll there's funding for that and stuff like that. The ingredients that was missing, honestly, was Lakebase and Lakehouse apps. And now it's gonna be crazy.
So apps, obviously, big part for the next year, which I actually do a video with someone that I advise, a company called Lumel, and he kept telling me apps is a future, apps is a future. So yeah.
And really just because it's simpler.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're stitching stuff together, disparate governance and models, and that just creates friction in time, and you gotta get someone in IT to give you an app server, and you gotta modify your DNS to give access to it through the firewall. That's nonsense,
Now, looking back to 1 year ago, what are two real things that turn out better than expected for Databricks? And what are two things that didn't turn out quite as expected?
Tabular acquisition. I think there was a lot of doubters in the market that we truly cared about Iceberg and Reed and Ryan Blue. And
Yeah.
the thing we needed was the goodwill of both communities, Delta and Iceberg, so we could bring the best of both into both, right? All the advantages. And Iceberg 3.0, Delta 3.0, Ollie wrote a long thing on it, how they're pretty much the same on disk now. We still need to go forward, but the stress for a company of which to choose is gone, as long as you use a catalog that lets you read write both from external engines. So I think that was better. I was nervous about all of the parties that were involved in ensuring that happened. But I think there was just a lot of goodwill because, customers win. Another one.
Better than expected.
Better than expected. I mean, I think just like, I didn't think that Databricks SQL as like the fastest growing data warehouse ever would continue. Like it's going to be like a billion in a second.
Had kept on improving too.
And like, getting to smaller and smaller data, still crushing latency, all of this.
Yeah.
That was better than expected. I think behind expected was, we said on stage a year ago, everybody doing Gen AI, 75% hadn't made it to production. We've learned, we solved a lot of problems there. And a lot of the problems have to do with quality and the evaluation framework, and we launched a lot of that stuff. Yeah. But you still needed to wrangle that stuff with ML engineers and do a lot of stuff in code. And I think the techniques to make evaluation and LLM judges smarter and better and later techniques, and they're kind of packaged in agent bricks and stuff. But I think what happened was there were a set of problems. Yeah. We did really good engineering to address those problems. And it's kind of like when you're hiking and you see the top and you get to the top, you're like, oh shit, that's not the top. There's like the peak behind the peak. Yeah. Right? And then you're gonna get to that, there's gonna be the peak behind the peak. So I think it's just a longer road than we thought. We have tons of incredible customers in production with Gen AI things, transforming the insurance, financial, healthcare, real industries. But it's harder. We thought we could make it easier, democratize it more, and that's gonna take a little longer because there's peaks behind the peaks behind the peaks. That's one. Another one? Yeah. The GC, General Compute Serverless for jobs and workflows. The legacy that people have been putting into production over the last decade has a lot of edge cases. And it's harder to get a lot of those lifted to serverless, where customers really want that because of all the benefits, but that's also a longer road.
That's fair. I appreciate that. I guess always test it out.
And ABAC, that was harder than we thought. Got a little late, but now it's here in beta. I think we're announcing that tomorrow. I don't know. Okay. But that was a longer one. So 2 better than I thought, 3 worse than I thought.
That's kind of like, that is.
I'm like a true.
That is so Databricks of you to actually be honest about your shortcomings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, look, one of our values is truth seeking. Yeah. That's the way to get to the future faster. It's the only way.
It was actually very interesting. I spoke with maybe 3 or 4 Databricks customers that were far from fanboys or anything like that from the platform. But I think one of them kind of was, but at least the other ones were not. But they basically told me, look, we've sometimes just been very strong with our opinions and our thoughts about what's wrong here and there, and Databricks listens to the feedback. They're like, that is such a rare thing where they feel like, hey, even when Databricks gets things wrong, and every platform and every business gets things wrong, it's like they actually take that feedback and that engineering-led mindset of we're actually gonna make the product better instead of shoot, it's not gonna sell out so well.
Because and part of it's because we're happy geeks, and we want to understand the real problems. Yeah. And when they break them down and give us understanding and contextualization of them, it's exciting because then we can see a path through it. So, I don't like happy customers, I only like angry customers.
It's very funny because quite literally every time that I've spoken with some of the Databricks sales reps, and I'm talking about they know Seb, so they know the company that I work with. First thing I ask them, I don't ask them oh great, are we doing a great job? I'm like, okay, have you had any bad experiences? Because I want to make sure that we make things right. And so far, no one has said they
nice.
But nonetheless, I also have that approach. Okay, don't tell me about everything being awesome.
Look, you want to cut to the chase. You want to really address the needs, because that's how you kind of co-invent the future.
And honestly, it's part of the reason why you guys have kind of led me, not that you could really tell me, but the fact that we've still had a great relationship from the outside.
You sometimes have constructive criticism, which we really appreciate.
Yes, every now and then I have, yeah. So, and But that's, sometimes I've been, one time I criticized like the whole, like, hey, the whole Lakehouse messaging. I like, okay, you guys do more than Lakehouse.
Yeah.
Can you like change that? Now, 1 month later, it did get changed to data intelligence platform. So whether it was because of me or not, that's
It
someday
could
I'll
have
find.
been maybe you, maybe Ollie,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
What-
long story short.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I appreciate though. It's like hey, there's a problem. It's interesting to try to fix it. So I think that's the philosophy. So
All right, awesome. Well, really good talking to you.
Very great having
Yeah.
you here.
Thank you so
very
much.
much, David. See you next year.